Happy Monday to you guys. Um, Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Romeo and Juliet. I know that the link that I put on the blog for you expired. They were only doing that a short period of time. I was hoping they would keep it going. But if you want to watch the movie, and I'd like for you to see the movie, the 1968 version, I think you can probably find a free link on the computer. If you'll just Google it, y'all are better at finding it than I am. I did not find a free one, but somebody else said, one of my other students said they did find a free one. So try to watch that. But if you can't watch that, maybe you should go for Romeo and Juliet. You will enjoy the movie so much more than you did the first time if you've already watched it, because before you didn't know the information that you needed to know to make it funny. So now you're going to know things and it'll make it more interesting. Romeo and Juliet doesn't end out the way that the real Romeo and Juliet does, but it's still a lot of fun and a lot of illusions that are interesting and fun to see. So I want to talk to you, though, about the end of Act 3 and a little bit of the beginning of Act 4. Let's see, did I click too far? Here it is. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet, Act 3. So let's look about what we know. Look at what we know. We know that Romeo had been banished from Verona because he was fighting in the street. Not only that, but he killed Tybalt, and Mercutio was killed as well. So Juliet and Romeo respond to his being banished in a way that's really not normal, because he's just getting out of the city. He can't come back in the city. So it's not as bad as they act like it is, but they just respond to the ultimate. Do you ever do that? Respond more to something than you should, and it causes great anxiety? Well, that's what they did. They just think that their life is over and that they'd rather die than for this to happen. So Romeo tells Friar Lawrence, who is trying to console him, he says, "Thou canst not speak of that thou dost not feel. Wert thou as young as I, Juliet, thy love, an hour but married, and Tybalt murdered, doting like me, and like me banished, then mightst you speak, or thou speak, that mightst thou tear thy hair and fall upon the ground as I do now, taking the measure of an unmade grave." So here he's saying, if you were in my shoes, you might be responding the same. And then Romeo offers to stab himself with a knife. And so the nurse then takes the knife away from him. And so the nurse then tells Romeo, she tells him to quit being a wimp. She says, stand up, stand, and you be a man for Juliet's sake, for her sake, rise and stand. And Friar Lawrence is coming up with a solution. He says, hey, go on to Mantua. That's another city. Go to Mantua, where thou shalt live until we can find a time to blaze your marriage. And that means to tell about your marriage, reconcile your friends, and beg pardon of the prince, and call you back. So he's just saying, look, leave, and we're going to tell what happened here and see if we can't make things better so that you can come back. Meanwhile, Paris is talking to Juliet's dad, and Juliet is mourning and grieving, and they think that she's really, really sad about Tybalt, because they have no idea that she's married to Romeo. They think that Romeo is their enemy still, and so that has not even crossed their mind. And so she's really, really sad and not really telling them why. And so they think it's because her cousin died. And so Paris, who was supposed to be getting Juliet to fall in love with him, comes to her dad and says, these times of woe afford no times to woo. So you got your alliteration there. And times of woe, that means difficult times, afford no times to woo. And that means if you woo someone, it means you're trying to get their attention because you want to date them. And in this case, he wants to marry her. He wants to woo her. But he says, you know what? There's too much bad stuff going on right now, and I can't really flirt with her and get her to like me. You know, it's just, this is a bad time. So go ahead and just commend me to your daughter. In other words, go ahead and give me permission to marry your daughter. And Lord Capulet says, okay, let's do it really, really quick. That's a great idea. You guys can get married on Thursday. And he thinks that a marriage then is going to help Juliet to stop grieving over the death of Tybalt. And he doesn't know that she's weeping because Romeo has been banished. And then Juliet says, she's talking to if you'll remember, the nurse had to bring a rope ladder, so that Romeo could get in her room for the wedding night. And so now Juliet is saying she's just really sad because that's not going to happen either. So she says, take up those cords, poor ropes, you are beguiled. And you guys know beguiled, thoroughly tricked. So she's talking to the ladder, the rope ladder, and she says, you are tricked. You are beguiled, both you and I. For Romeo is exiled. He made you for a highway to my bed. But I, a maid, die maiden widowed. Come, cords, come, nurse, I'll to my wedding bed. And death, not Romeo, take my maidenhead. So she's saying here, I would rather die than ever marry anybody else. She says that I am a maiden. In other words, she's still pure. She has not had her wedding night, so she's still pure and chaste, even widowed. She feels as if she's even already widowed. And so she says, nothing's going to happen. I would rather die. And I would rather go to my grave than not be with Romeo. And we find that this is very foreshadowous. And then Friar Lawrence then encourages Romeo and Juliet to have their honeymoon anyway. So that's what happens. And he says, you know what, Romeo, you go to Juliet and before the sun comes up, leave so you don't get caught, because if you get caught, then that'll be a death sentence for you. So Romeo and Juliet spend their wedding night together, and then Romeo leaves for Mantua before he gets caught. Then horror comes when Lord Capulet tells Juliet that she is going to marry Paris in 2 days. And so now she is in a predicament. Juliet tells her parents, she says, I need to go to see Friar Lawrence because I need to make a confession or go to shrift. And this is her excuse so she can go talk to him. And then that really is the end of Act 3. And then Act 4 begins with Juliet telling Friar Lawrence that she may just have to kill herself. She says this, if in thy wisdom thou canst give no help, do thou but call my resolution wise, and with this knife I'll help it presently. Give me some present counsel, or behold, twixt my extremes and me, that means between my extremes and me, this bloody knife shall play the umpire. So here she's personifying the knife, saying that the knife will be the umpire, will call the shots there, will play the umpire, arbitrating, mediating, but not so long to speak. I long to die if what thou speakest not of a remedy. So she said, if you can't figure out the answer to this problem, then I'd rather die. That's where we're going to end right now. And then the next time we talk, we will do the rest of Act 4 and hopefully Act 5 and be finished. And be thinking about, I think we're going to try to do some sick men. We've already talked about it. Be thinking about how you're going to do sick men for Act 5. If you're reading ahead, watch the movie, enjoy. Learn what you can, and then when we're done with this, you're going to be more educated and well-read and better conversationalists, and then you're going to get lots of illusions that you didn't get before because you're smarter and you know more. All right, y'all have a great day. Bye. Okay, there we go.